Hey, good people, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you all my review on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 3, Episode 8. I have been so behind on doing reviews for these ladies, but I am so happy to be back and giving you all my opinion about this season thus far. Guys, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's jump right into the video. I have to admit, when I saw the preview for tonight's episode last week, I was like, not another Jen Shah meltdown. I can't take it. I really can't. We have seen this woman for the last 3 years have these crazy meltdowns, and most of the time when she's melting down, it's over nothing. And I just feel like I'm over it at this particular point in time. I just am. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just kind of still disgusted with all of the legal things that she has going on. I still think that Jen is good TV, but these meltdowns have to go. Like we need to really work on those. Also, Whitney is to me very self-centered. As I've watched these episodes this season, it's all about Whitney, Whitney, Whitney. Remember the trip that they took to Arizona that was supposed to be for Jen? And Whitney totally turned it around to talk about her trauma and this, that, and the third. And it's just like, girl, can somebody else have the spotlight for once? Why is everything about you? I can't take it. I also feel like it's very bizarre that Heather has allowed Whitney to do the choir, and it's just so many other things with Heather. Like, I love Heather this season, but I'm a little confused by her. If you guys understand what I'm talking about in each of these instances, let me know how you feel. Let me know how you feel about Whitney. Let me know how you feel about Heather. Heck, let me know what you feel about this whole episode in this season thus far. I would love to chat it up with you in the comments. When the episode opens up, we are at Lisa's house, and I was surprised to find out that Lisa doesn't go to church on a consistent basis. I felt like when Lisa first came onto the show, she really was like promoting the fact that she was a proud Mormon and she was really a practicing Mormon, with the exception, of course, of her selling alcohol, which is against, I guess, their doctoring. But aside from that, like, she really made it seem like she was superior to the rest of the women as it related to her faith. And then come to find out that her sons go to church, but she doesn't go with them. So I'm sitting here like, well, Lisa, while they're at church, what are you doing? Why aren't you setting the example for your children? So in the next scene, Whitney, Jen, and Lisa are going skiing together, and I find it so bizarre that these three women are hanging out. It's so crazy how the tables have turned with all of these friendships because of everything that went down during last season. Who would have thought you would ever see Lisa and Whitney hanging out together? Lisa and Jen, Whitney and Jen. I mean, any one of those combinations, you guys understand what I'm talking about. It's shocking to me, honestly. It really is. And very bizarre. Whitney is sharing with the ladies her encounter with Heather the other night. If you guys remember in the last episode, Heather threw her out of her house pretty much. She turned her around physically and was like, girl, I'm done with you. Figure it out. So it was awkward when Whitney was telling the women that Heather called her and invited her to join the choir. I don't understand it. It's almost as if, Heather, don't you remember the fact that you and Whitney were just had this big disagreement and are not necessarily in a good place? What's going on? Is it just that Heather is trying to just push past everything that's happened and kind of sweep it under the rug and move forward? I don't know what she's doing. You guys let me know what you felt about that. I also thought it was really interesting how all of these women, now we know that Heather has issues with Lisa. We know that she just recently has had issues with Whitney, but I don't like the fact that they're all kind of ganging up on Heather, and I don't like it. I gotta be honest, I really don't. Now, do I feel like Jen has a point when she says that she wanted Heather to have her back? Absolutely. As a friend, you want your friends to have your back. But Jen should also realize and understand that Angie is friends with Heather, right? So Heather really doesn't want to be in the middle, nor should she be forced to be in the middle. I'm pretty sure that if someone said to Heather, what would you say to Angie about what she did to Jen, that Heather would say, I don't agree with it, or something along those lines. Just to be like, you should have my back and, curse her out, as Jen says. No. because honestly, Jen would not do that for Heather. Let's be real. In the next scene, we see Coach is hosting the men, and we don't really get to see these guys hang out much at all on this show. So it is nice to see that he was able to bring them all together, including the newbie husbands, and have this little barbecue at his house. I thought it was hilarious when Coach answers the door for each of the men that arrive. He's like, yes, yes. I'm like, Coach, you and these yeses, like, what is the yes about? I don't know. I just found that to be so funny. I really do like Coach Shah. I think it's always nice to see him when he's on the show. I think he's very level headed, and it's clear that he and Jen are like the right match for each other because he kind of calms down her crazy, if you will. I just think that he's a stand up guy, and I really do enjoy seeing him. So you know that Seth and John, they are kind of in this awkward space because of everything that's going on with their wives. Seth asks John if they can go outside and talk, and John agrees. So while they're outside, Seth asks John how he would feel if Meredith said all of the things that Lisa said about her. And instead of answering the question, John immediately deflects and says, well, in Arizona, Meredith brought up out of the blue the rumors that Lisa was cheating on me. And I'm like, see, you have it all wrong, sir. Meredith was not the person who brought up those rumors. The person who brought up the rumors was Whitney. And for whatever reason, Jen, I think because she knows that there's an issue with her and Meredith, is just all of a sudden jumping on Whitney's side without really hearing Meredith out. Because if she really would have heard Meredith back in Arizona, she would know that Meredith wasn't trying to share any of this information, really didn't say much when Whitney was trying to pull things out of her. So I think when she goes back and watches these episodes, she's going to see how these rumors actually made it to the show and that it was not by Meredith, but by Whitney. As far as John is concerned, I get that he's trying to protect Lisa, but it is okay to say that your wife was wrong because she was wrong. Like, if I'm Meredith, and I've said this before, I would never be cool with Lisa again. Those things that she said, she absolutely meant. It was really disgusting to see that play out on TV. It really, really was. And as far as Seth is concerned, I think based on his first line of questions to John, it's safe to say that he's not going to get very far with John during this conversation. At the conclusion of their conversation, both men do value each other's friendships, and they really don't want to be in the position that they're in, but this is just where they're at this particular point in time. So both men go back inside, and Coach says that he has one question to ask them, and that question is, are we done? Seth says, yes, we're good. John doesn't say anything at all. I think John is really going to ride for Jen, but again, I don't understand why it's so hard for him just to acknowledge that she did. Well, he kind of did actually when they were talking, acknowledge the fact that she made a mistake, but he didn't say, Jen made a mistake. He kind of just said it in passing a little bit. But he's not going to agree with anything 100% that Seth has to say because he knows that his wife will probably dig into his butt if she sees him say anything other than my wife is the greatest, pretty much, So Seth asks Coach how he's doing. Coach says that God doesn't make any mistakes and he is exactly where he is supposed to be. Wow. I mean, talk about a man of faith, especially now that we know that his wife pleaded guilty. I would love to know what he feels about her whole guilty plea. How many of you believe that Coach was aware of what Jen was doing? Do you guys think that she lied to him, or do you think that he knew what was going on? A part of me is feeling like it's hard for me to understand how a spouse doesn't know where their significant other is getting money from, significant amount of money from. But then the other side of me is like, Coach is always coaching. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you feel about that. I could see the argument that he knew something, and I can also see the argument that he did not know anything at all. The coach goes on to say that he feels absolutely helpless. He cannot help his wife in this situation. He cannot make these things go away. And it's just really sad, like I said, given the fact that she's pled guilty, what this whole situation has done to him and subsequently their children as well. Meredith is home with her sister. This is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that we meet Meredith's sister, and she's also at the house with her nieces and nephews. Meredith says that she and her sister were in a bad place last year, but they're doing much better this year. She talks about her nephew Alex's struggle with mental illness, and she shares, and I found this to be so heartbreaking, that I guess he drank, if I'm not I was trying to understand what she was saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that she said he drank a bottle of bleach last year. And I just felt so bad for her, given the fact that her father passed away as well, and then to go through that with the nephew and have whatever situation she was having with her sister. That's tough. That's a lot. Then, on top of all of that, your best friend blasting you on television. She did have a rough year last year. So, as Meredith and her sister are talking about Alex, Meredith to me does not seem to be convinced 100% that Alex is doing as good as his mother says that he is. It looks like she has some reservations, but she's just trying to go along with everything because she doesn't want to have any more drama with her sister. That's what I was feeling as I'm looking at her face when her sister is talking. You guys let me know what you feel. So I'm thinking that Meredith is going to be hosting some type of event for her nephew or to raise awareness about mental health issues. And her sister says that she wants it to be a positive atmosphere at that event. They do talk about the current state of Meredith's relationship with Lisa, and her sister tells her that she does not feel like Lisa is a good friend to Meredith. And I 100% agree. Like I said, if I'm Meredith, I'm never being cool with Lisa again. Like, we could be very surface, hey, how you doing? But that's as far as I would go with her. In the next scene, Heather is at the choir rehearsal. Jen and Angie K are riding together to that rehearsal, and they start to discuss Heather in the car. Jen feels like Heather should have stuck up for her when Angie H's husband made that fake, I guess, Instagram account or whatever it was called Shah Exposed, and she's sharing that with Angie K. All of these Angies are so hard for me, guys. It really, truly is. But she's sharing that with Angie K, and she just says that she wants Heather to have her back. Angie said that Meredith invited her to a spin class. Dana, who's another one of the newbies this year, said that she felt as if Jen was bullying Angie H. This, of course, pissed Jen off. It doesn't take much. And she's like, this lady doesn't even know me to be saying that, blah, 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 blah. For me, the way I feel is Dana is right. She's right about Jen being a bully, because I have seen some stuff online. Some of, I guess, like Jen's former employees posted some videos of her berating people that work for her, and it was really disgusting to see and watch. And I just couldn't believe that this woman gets away with talking to people the way that she does. But in this particular situation, as it relates to Angie H, I do feel like Jen has a point. Angie's husband was completely wrong for setting up this fake account, and it does come across as very childish. I did not feel at all like Jen was bullying Angie. I feel like Jen was defending herself, as she should. As I said before, as far as it relates to Angie and Heather, and I'm talking about Angie H, I almost feel as if Jen does not want Heather to be friends with Angie. That's what it's coming across to me as. That's the vibes that I'm getting. You guys let me know how you feel about that. So back at the rehearsal, Whitney has showed up, and I'm telling you, the way that Heather comes and greets Whitney, you would think these two have never had a problem. Heather was so happy to see her, and I just find that to be so bizarre. Like, what is going on, Heather? Whitney says that she was just as surprised that Heather invited her to join the choir. She says in her confessional that she wants to repair her relationship with Heather, and showing up even though she has left the Mormon church, and the fact that they're all singing Mormon hymns should be enough to show Heather that she is committed to their relationship. And that's what I'm talking about. Why do we need to say all of that with Whitney? Just show up to the thing, sing, and keep it moving. Like, this has nothing to do with you no longer being a part of the Mormon church or whatever the situation is. If you don't want to sing these hymns, you can exit stage left. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? We find out that Meredith is not going to be at this rehearsal, and she's not even a part of the choir anyway. I think Heather said like she's stage production or something like that. Lisa and Heather also are hugging it out like they're long lost friends. And I'm just like, Heather girl, now we know you do not like Lisa. So what is this all about? This is what I'm talking about with Heather. Girl, I love you, but what are we doing? What are we doing, ma'am? What are we doing? Lisa tells Heather that they need to talk. Heather is like, this is not the event for us to be doing this at. This event is bigger than the issues that we have. And I totally agree with Heather. This is not the time or place to be hashing out any of your issues with Heather, vice versa. But of course, Lisa keeps pushing it. So she tells Heather that she is putting in the effort for them to be friends, while the rest of the choir goes off and now they're starting to sing their warm-ups. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna have this choir start singing and these two in the background fighting. How is this gonna work? Heather tells Lisa that she does not want to be in a space of contention with her, and she wants to know why Lisa tweeted the stuff about Heather's dad. Heather feels like if Lisa really wanted to move forward, she would not have done that. Lisa says that she had to defend herself, clear her name, and I'm like, Lisa, nobody is thinking about this little thing that you and Heather had going on last year. The bigger story for us as fans, in my opinion, and you guys let me know if you have a different opinion, would be how you and Meredith can coexist after you said all of those things that you said about her. So you bringing up this Heather thing, it's like, I'm not interested in hearing anything else about it. I think Lisa should just let it go. So as they're talking, the choir is getting louder and louder, and I'm like, that is a hint for you guys to table this conversation and join the choir. Heather in her confessional says that Lisa is an empath, so she should be able to focus on the fact that Heather is feeling hurt. I'm like, Heather is everything in these confessionals. She has been killing these confessionals this year. You know, she says that in a sarcastic way, almost like, you're such an empath, you should be able to feel my feelings. But Heather is just so shady to me. Lisa asks Heather, yes or no, do you like me? Heather is standing there for a couple of seconds. She has not answered the question. And then she asks Lisa, is that really important to you? Heather, please stop deflecting. Just tell this woman you don't like her and keep it moving. You don't like her, you want to like her, but at this point in time, you're not in that place. That's it. And of course, Lisa says it is of importance to her. So Heather totally does not answer the question and instead says basically she wants to start at ground zero with Lisa and move forward. She does want to be Lisa's friend. Lisa says that Heather lied, and I'm like, this woman is trying to move forward with you, Lisa. Why is it so important for you to say that she lied? Okay, she got her dates mixed up or whatever the situation is. Can we just move past it? Like, that's last year. Did what you needed to do on Twitter or what you felt like you needed to do. So now let's just get over this whole thing. Now we're panning over to Jen and Angie H talking, and Angie apologizes on behalf of both herself and her husband, which I think Jen deserved. And Jen tells Angie that Sharif wants her husband to do a public apology. And if he agrees to do that, then they'll squash everything. Listen, I don't think it's necessary for a public apology, but if that's what Coach wants, then give that man his public apology. Angie agrees, and they leave it at that. We're back over with Lisa and Heather. Lisa brings up the story that Whitney said in Arizona, where she and Angie H, as well as Heather, were all at the Utah game, and someone shared that Lisa was sleeping around to get the Utah Jazz tickets. I don't know. I don't really care. Why are we backpedaling? I thought we're trying to move forward. And I also feel like, why isn't Lisa equally as upset with Whitney, as I said earlier, for being in the mix and talking about this whole situation as well? So Lisa tells Whitney to come over, and they ask Whitney about the situation, and Whitney says that Heather either forgets or she conveniently forgets the things that she has said or done. Heather is like, how do I fix this? Clearly Heather wants to move on. Like, we don't need to keep going backwards. But Lisa in her confessional says that Heather has a memory problem and this is not her problem, it's Heather's. I mean, Lisa is probably right, considering the fact that they do show a flashback of all the times that Heather is telling both Lisa and Whitney on separate occasions that she does not remember something that she just did. Maybe Heather is going through a little something. I don't know, but it's not looking, I'm going to be honest, she does not look very good in this episode, because it does make it seem like you conveniently forget things. So I am kind of in the back of my mind wondering if she did have anything to say about Lisa allegedly cheating on her husband. But then the other part of me is like, listen, if she did say something, is it really that big of a deal, considering her and Lisa aren't even friends like that? And they kind of have like a wishy-washy relationship? You guys let me know what you feel. Long story short, Heather and Whitney are getting into it a little bit. And Whitney says that this is the first time that she has not gone along to get along. Heather says to Whitney, don't worry, the awkward space is gone. And Heather walks away. So I guess that's Heather's way of saying, you know what? I'm removing myself from this entire situation and possibly from their friendship for a bit. Whitney says in her confessional that she realizes she is done trying with Heather. Okay, Whitney, whatever. And the funny thing about this scene is that all of them go back to singing in the choir like nothing ever happened. Again, this is so bizarre to me. I will say the song was very nice though. They did a good job. Now we're over at Meredith's house and Dana comes over to visit her. Meredith opens up her refrigerator and literally there's only seltzer water and sodas. Meredith has no food. I don't know who's worse, Lisa or Meredith. These women do not cook. They do not eat home cooked meals at all. Like Meredith literally had a refrigerator of soft drinks. Literally crazy to me. She and Dana are talking about their relationships, and it seems like Dana has a pretty good relationship with her husband. So now we go over to Jen and Angie K. They look like they're at some type of spa on top of a hotel with a pool. So they're in the pool and they're discussing this trip to San Diego, and I feel like it's a shame that this group of women can't go out of the country simply because Jen Shah cannot go out of the country. That's the whole reason. So they had to do a trip to Arizona and now they're doing a trip to San Diego. Jen tells Angie to call Meredith so that they can invite her to the San Diego trip. And I guess to Jen's surprise, she sees Dana there. So Jen says, you know what, Dana, I would invite you to the trip, except I heard you were talking ish. Meredith says to Jen that I think you guys have some miscommunication going on here. Of course, that goes in one ear and out the other as it pertains to Jen. And she goes on to say that Dana should not call her a bully because that's not what happened. Dana says to Jen that she doesn't tolerate stuff like that and she does not like how Jen speaks to people. So Jen is like, you know what? I can't talk right now. I'll talk to you later, Meredith. And she hangs up the phone. Here we go with the meltdown. Jen says to Angie that she's not going to sit there and be bullied. And I'm like, so now Dana is bullying you? Jen, please be quiet. Girl, you don't even make any sense. Now she's the victim. And this is the thing that I'm talking about with Jen. She gets into it with someone and then she becomes the victim. That's not how it works, Jen. That's pretty much the end of this episode. You guys let me know what you think about the episode. Again, I probably said bizarre like 3 or 4 times, but that's my description of the episode. I don't have any other word to describe what I have seen. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.